This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Yes, we are back. Welcome to the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri. I am your host, international and local. What's going on, people? Hope you're having a blessed day wherever you're tuned in around the world, whether it's 95 FM, Pulse95Radio.com, our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, or even if you're chilling at home watching us live on YouTube. Thank you very much for connecting with me today, and I promise you I'm going to make it worth your while. The guest today, it's been on the cards for a while, man. I'm telling you now, the guest today should have been here a long time ago, but she's finally here today. Super sweet Zara is in the building, and not only is she in the building, we're talking health, we're talking nutrition, and we're taking it from a very different angle to what we've had on the Halftime Show. Veganism is in the spotlight today. We're also talking about how it benefits the body, what she does. The humanitarian approach to this lady right here, this sister right here is going to be with me today in the studio. The humanitarian approach is what's going to keep you tuned in the whole time on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri. I am your host, covering everything sport, international and local. Thank you very much for tuning in with me today. Special guest in the studio today, super sweet Zara. Let's give her a little... Ooh, boy, I told you it was coming. I told you it was coming. That's right, Ninja. You heard it here. She's in the studio. Thank you for the hookup, Ninja Lulu. We love you. Right, so... Super sweet. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Happy to be here, finally.
Yeah, it was brewing, right?
Yeah.
It marinated, and now you're here. And now you're here. Now, super sweet, you do a lot of things, a lot of great things. I was speaking about this off air as well. Yeah, tell me more about it. I know there's the coaching, I know there's the training, but there's so much more to you. Can you share it with the listeners?
Yeah, I do the things. So, well, basically, my primary work currently, obviously, is the personal training and the nutrition, which I also do because I love helping people become better versions of themselves.
Yeah.
I also work a lot with animal welfare that I've done for many, many years before I moved to Dubai. But it became more and more prevalent here because obviously the need is greater here. So I'm fully immersed with that. I also work quite closely with an orphanage in Africa.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so it's in Nairobi. It's in Kenya. A beautiful place called Happy Life Children's Home. And there's about 40 children, the ages 0 to 4. And it's the only orphanage in Kenya that takes in children that are just born. So there's obviously an issue with a lot of abandonment down there. So I go in and I help, and I fully immerse myself in the situation. You live with the children, you take care of them on a daily basis. Yeah. And yeah, I do that to relax, to be honest, to get away from Dubai and kind of get real gritty and dirty and in with the locals. Yeah. Which I absolutely love. So.
And what brought your attention to that part of the world initially? Because I know there's a bit of London in there.
Yeah. I lived in London for 14 years.
You see how she said that? She went, yeah. There's a bit of London in there.
Yeah. I moved to London when I was 18.
Okay.
So literally as I graduated, I moved to London.
And you hail from?
Sweden.
Fully?
Swedish, yes.
With the mother being?
Half Norwegian.
There we go. Okay. And then so why Africa, you said?
I've been going to Africa for many years. Obviously in London you meet a lot of Africans.
Yeah.
My very first flatmate when I was living in South London, she was from Nigeria.
Shout out to South London.
Yeah, so I started eating my pounded yam and egusi back then, Okay. So I got in with the locals.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was from there really, and then I started traveling there, and then I love the culture. I love the people. I love that they have so little, but they're so happy. In terms of like for the children's home, for example, that I go to.
Yeah.
So I just love that rawness of the culture.
There's sometimes you get lost in that.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think maybe because I'm from such a, Sweden is very safe and it's very, comfortable, I think that's what's making me go out and seek that, complete alien to me life.
Yeah, and it's also something else that once you've found that, it's easy to get addicted to that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a feeling of giving back and knowing that you're needed, I guess, in a way, and that you can help and that you've made a difference in someone's life. And I think that's what it comes to the animals, whether it's animals or humans. Just knowing that you've made a difference, even if to one person or one animal, it's an amazing feeling.
Absolutely. It's also something else that can be considered therapy for us as coaches, right?
Absolutely.
What does it do for your mindset?
I feel that I have peace of mind, and it's in my lifestyle. I try to live as kindly as possible.
Yeah.
And so just knowing that I do that, it just gives me complete peace of mind.
Yeah.
And I need to. That's why when I say that I escape from Dubai sometimes, just to go and do that, it's relaxation.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that as well, because of the culture that you step into when you step to that side of the world. There seems to be this sense of empathy and mindfulness and gratitude that we sometimes feel a bit neglected over.
Yeah, the gratitude. It's just, and I take that with me, and I try to practice that here all the time. Just the smallest things. Just be grateful for the smallest things in life, because what we kind of take for granted and moan about here, you know, someone else would die to have.
Yes, absolutely. And that's going to also take us into the next part, which we will go into regarding veganism and things like that. But the relationship that you build with yourself is something we'll be discussing on the show today as well. When you head over to Africa, have your plans to Africa been restricted by COVID?
Yes, unfortunately.
How so?
I was supposed to go twice last year, and again now in April. I go twice a year, April and October. And so instead I'm raising money offsite. You know, I'm posting about it on my Instagram, and I get people to donate to the website so they can buy the nappies and everything, because that's their only source of income in the orphanage. So they're not supported by the government or anything. So having volunteers come there and, you know, bring toys and everything, and you pay like $70 for lodging or something. That's what keeps them going. So it's very important now that we look to the people. We're all complaining that we're restricted in our movements and everything, but these are the people that are really suffering.
Absolutely.
Because they're not getting help from anywhere.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm going to make sure we get those websites so everyone here at the Halftime Show can support.
I'd love that.
For sure. Coming up next, we're talking veganism. Now, it's something we have discussed briefly on the show, but who better than Zara to go into that right after the break? Hey, listen, enjoy a little bit of Ali Ghati, and we'll be right back after this. Enjoy, folks.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al Duri on Pulse 95.
Yes, we are back, and we're having that kind of chilled vibe. Myself and my sister, super sweet Zara, is in the building. We're talking a lot of different things. Now, if you are tuning in on the Instagram Live, then you're getting all the juicy bit, all the sauce, and all the extra bits we're talking about. And if you're not, don't worry, you can always catch the full show on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud if you like a podcast, or even head over to the YouTube channel, Pulse 95 Radio, and you see all of our fantastic guests here on the show with me on the Halftime Show. Right, okay, Zara, something we haven't really gone into, merely for the fact that I think maybe that the knowledge that you have on this next topic has been discussed all over the world.
Yeah.
Some pros, some cons, but veganism has really, really hit home in a lot of places. Can you tell us more about, firstly, what is veganism and what does it take to be a vegan?
So veganism is living as kind as you can without exploiting any animals in any way. So it would be, you don't eat any animal products, you don't wear any animal products, you make sure that whatever products you're using has not been tested on animals. Anything you can think of where we're exploiting animals. And obviously there's different levels you can go to. So, you know, some people say no horseback riding, they're being exploited, and there's, you know, there's different levels. But primarily veganism is about not using any animal products.
And so the extremities of that, how does that get managed or controlled?
I mean, I think it's the extremity in terms of veganism.
Yeah.
Well, it's up to each person, isn't it? So it's what you make of it. So it's a full-time job if you go into it and you research every single thing, and then you go into, you know, the clothing. But then, is it made by children? Is it, you know?
Yes. Interesting.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
You can go into such depth that it will drive you crazy.
Yeah.
So I think it's up to you to set what your standards are and what you will allow and won't allow, and, you know. And then there's for no one else to judge you, really. You know, you do it for you or for whatever reasons you're doing it for. So as long as you're comfortable and happy with your decision, then I think that's what, how you control it yourself.
Yeah, it requires a lot of knowledge as well.
Absolutely. And I always say this, you know, I always say this is key. We live in an era of information, right? We have Google, we have everything. And yet some people choose to just keep the blinders on, you know.
Yeah.
And that goes for so many things.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I try to keep an open mind in everything in terms of my spiritual ways, and you know, I always try to educate myself. And I think this is how I got into veganism.
Yeah.
I started looking into things, and I was like, hold on, this is not right.
Yeah.
And I knew, like we all know, what's going on behind the scenes, but
Yes.
we choose to close our eyes to it because of comforts, because of, you know, cultural things, because of religion, because of our family and friends, what they're going to say. So it's by no feat an easy thing to do. And I don't take that away from anyone. And also going against your own taste buds and your own comforts, you know, it takes a lot.
Yeah.
So
how long does it take to get into practicing it properly? And I say practicing because it's very easy for someone to say I'm vegan, and then they might have something that they're not supposed to have, or at least something they don't believe in, and then they go back to it. How long does it take before it becomes a natural habit?
It's so individual, right? So I went cold turkey. So I stopped eating from one day to the next. I stopped meat, dairy, everything.
Right.
But then, to be honest, for me, it took longer to stop wearing leather, for example, because I've worked in fashion for 15 years.
Right.
And I didn't connect.
I could have never told.
I didn't connect the two, you know. So that's been more of a gradual thing for me. Where I'm like, hold on, what is this? Oh, you know, sneakers, these kind of things. But with the food, I went like that. But then it takes 6 months for me to actually come out of your system. So when people say they tried going vegan for a month, and I'm like, yeah, but it's not really, because it didn't leave your body as such. But then again, there's so many different depths, and what do people mean by going vegan for a month? Is it because there's a lot of mental things going on as well? Yeah. When you go vegan, obviously you stop all the extra hormones coming into your system through the meat and through the dairy. And this is a lot of people don't know about this, how much extra hormones they're actually getting, and antibiotics and all the stuff that they put into the meat and the dairy. They are then consuming. So it's different when it comes to in terms of your body and your mind. Right.
Yeah.
So.
I like the fact that you also said, in terms of how it passes through the gut flora, how it passes through the probiotics of everything that's in your system, every person varies. But sometimes when people do enter, you know, the realm of veganism, as they say, and they say it didn't work for them, they haven't given it enough time.
They haven't given it enough time, or they haven't done it properly. So obviously, as with everything, even people that are following a carnivore diet or omnivore diet, we need supplements. You know, we're not getting everything, and especially in today's society, there's a lot of, we're not getting the whole foods as we used to.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of processed stuff, etc. So they might be eating chips for a month, or you know, eating a very limited diet because it's not animal products. They think it's okay, it's vegan, and then they're feeling fatigued, etc. So of course it's not going to work.
Yes.
So it takes a long time to kind of get your system used to it.
Yes, absolutely. And just for the listeners, the difference between being vegan and being vegetarian is?
Vegan, you don't eat any animal products or use any animal products. Vegetarian, you can have egg and dairy, but you don't eat any meat.
Right,
as such.
Right. And the benefits. Talk to me about the benefits of being vegan.
So obviously you're not contributing to any inhumane practices, and for your body, because I know a lot of people are concerned about their own health. There's less inflammation going on in your body. There's obviously less risk of cancer, certain types of cancer that dairy and meat specifically contribute to. There's, you know, meat clogs your arteries. You know, there's so many health benefits of cutting meat out of your diet.
Is there a sense of clarity there? From all the things you said that you're removing out of your diet, does that help with a sense of clarity, whether it's cognitive, whether it's brain, whether it's eyes, whether it's the way that we move when you're vegan?
Absolutely. It gives more energy.
Fantastic.
And if you have any injuries, you heal faster. And, you know, if anyone has watched the Game Changers documentary, you kind of know the benefits of it health-wise. But it really is that way, you know. It's for me, it was because I ate kind of healthy before I went vegan anyway.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really like a major thing in my body. But for me, it was more mentally, because obviously I'm vegan for the animals.
Yes.
And just knowing that I'm not contributing to anyone's suffering means the world to me.
Yeah.
And so that's why I could never go back. People are asking, are you still vegan? I'm like, of course I am.
Yeah.
Like, it would never, ever change.
Yeah.
I can't. I could never.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
You kind of almost put the audience on a cliffhanger when you almost left that before the break. The Game Changers documentary, it got a lot of interest in there. It opened a lot of people's eyes. It had a lot of mixed reviews. What was your take on it?
Well, for me, it's great that this comes out, because I know that people care more about their own health than they do about perhaps animals.
Yes,
So for me, it was great for people to understand and get more of understanding, and hopefully this would lead them to go in and research more. Yeah. So don't take everything for what it is.
Yeah.
Even in these documentaries, go and research. Let this be an opener for you to go and do your own research, and then take what you can from that, and then form your opinion from that. Don't let someone put it in your mind like we have for so many years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We are born and brought up by someone telling us what we should believe in, what we should be eating, what we should be doing. It's time now for you to stand on your own feet, right?
Absolutely.
And have your own opinion.
Absolutely. Love that. Right, guys, I told you it was going to be good. Coming up next, we're talking about the relationship you have with yourself, the relationship you have with training, with mental health, and with food. And I got to give a couple of special shout-outs to our very own Lulu, Machiavelli, Kurthum, Amna, Maria, Kareen, Mustafa, Dinner with Flo, all the way from New York. My boy from New York is always supporting and showing love, and everyone else. And Terry and Lara as well. If I forgot anyone, I'm going to shout you out when we get back after the break. Enjoy, guys. I'll see you right after this. Peace.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Sure is that time. What's going on, people? Hope you're having a blessed day. If you're just jumping into the room at Omar Al-Duri on Instagram and wondering what we're talking about, head over to the YouTube afterwards. Super Mario and Gabby put our shows on the YouTube channel, Pulse 95 Radio, and it is amazing. And we got great guests in today. Super Swede Zara. I was going to say Super Zara Swede. That works as well, right?
That works too.
He's in the studio today, and we're talking some really, really good stuff. Actually, the stuff we talk about behind the scenes is just as good as what we do on air. Just to recap that, Zara, we were talking about the element of the people that were very strong about stereotyping a vegan, stereotyping the CrossFitters and vegan, putting all together, why there is this reaction to those who don't know enough about it. I think it's the educational part more than anything.
Absolutely.
How come it almost got boxed at one point and it became a trend, and then all of a sudden it was like a backlash to it?
It's like any trend, people jump on the bandwagon. And then obviously with veganism it's different because you're actually doing something yourself. It's easy to give up straws, for example. I give up plastic straws because you're not really dependent on them. It doesn't really add that much value to your life. Now, take away something that you keep very fond. Right? Take away the meat, take away dishes that you used to have as a kid that brings back warm memories.
Right.
Take away, all these kind of things. Having to tell your mum that you don't want to have her famous, whatever stew. It's going to have different effects. So when it comes to something that personally affects people, I think it's harder to maintain it, right? Yeah,
absolutely. There's something that I've seen some of your posts, and I've seen some of the content that you post, and I thought it was very, very powerful. And we mentioned this also behind the scenes. What is it about posts that trigger off certain emotions or feelings when it comes to people?
Because I think people. Well, first of all, we're living in a time right now where people are very sensitive, right? People get offended by the smallest things. So when it comes to feeling personally attacked for your choices, they'd be like, "Who are you to tell me what to do?" And so I think in that way, and especially again when it comes to something that's so close to your heart, like eating, we all love eating. It's a big part of our life. So people don't, and I think it's also a little bit of a subconscious. They know what's going on behind the scenes, but they don't really want to know it. So be like, keep your opinions and things to yourself. Like, I'm happy with my little world right here, and I want to continue like this. So
I get you. One of the things that a lot of the times, and coaches fall under this as well. So I'm going to put my hand up and say that's me as well. We're always out there helping people. But one of the things we need to focus on more is the relationship with ourselves in order to be able to project and give more to our clients, our families, the people around us, our society.
Definitely.
how do you work on the relationship with yourself? What do you do personally, and what do you preach with that?
Call yourself out.
Nice.
Call yourself out on what you're doing. So it could be something as little as sitting in traffic. One day someone could turn in front of you and you're shouting abuse and you get really mad. The next day, same thing happens and you're not really reacting. So the issue is lying with you, right?
Yeah.
So I always think whenever I'm reacting to something, whether it's someone on Instagram or a post or someone in traffic, I'm like, whoa, why did I react like that? What's triggered me to get to this point today where I feel that, I needed to blow up?
Yeah.
It's obviously something that's I need to deal with.
Yeah.
And the same thing, like call yourself out on everything, on your opinions, on your facts, on everything you do, your behaviors. Like, why did I behave that way to that waiter the other day? Like, why did I snap? You didn't deserve that. And go back and check why you're doing this. So I think in order to be able to be the best that we can be, we need to check in with ourselves to see how we're actually doing. And I think a lot of people are scared to do this because we have to face ourselves.
It's a sense of accountability.
Absolutely.
Do you know any foods as a vegan that help control that?
Help control
Your anger, anxiety.
Well, I know that not eating meat helps control that.
Yeah.
Because you're eating, like going back to veganism, but you're eating the stress and the adrenaline of the animal before it was killed. There is no such thing as humane murder. Right. So the animal knows what's happening right before it gets killed, even as it gets killed. So you are then ingesting that, and that's causing a lot of aggression and a lot of testosterone in your system and whatever other things they've put into the meat. Yeah. So not eating meat, it's a big start. Absolutely.
When it comes down to superfoods, Super Swede, what superfoods would you recommend?
Oh, there's so many. To be honest, superfoods, it's like one of these trends kind of thing. Like,
it's a click term.
Have I love acai is a superfood. But also very high calories. So it depends what you want out of this superfood. I would rather twist it and just say whole foods.
Nice.
A superfood is a whole food, something that hasn't been processed, something that you're able to tell all the ingredients in on, is completely pure.
Yes.
And then you cook from scratch yourself. That is how you get the best out of your food.
Yeah, very good. Recovery is something that a lot of the times now people are starting to take even more note of when it comes down to its value and importance as much as training.
Absolutely.
What recovery hacks do you use personally, or do you do on yourself, or even recommend to clients?
Recovery is also, you recover your body, but you also need to recover your mind, right?
Yes.
So I start working with my clients in the mental way because they need help for a reason, right? So I always highlight that it's not just about the diet and the workout, it's also about your sleeping patterns, your stress patterns, how your cortisol levels are in your body, how much are you worrying and stressing about things. I recommend for my clients to take at least 10 to 15 minutes out of their day, and they're like, I don't have time. I'm like, find time. It's very important. You sit, put your phone away, put everything away, and just sit in silence and reconnect with yourself. You have to, because we live such stressful lives right now. We're constantly on our phones. We're constantly getting fed images everywhere, constantly talking, constantly music, We need to trace back. So what I do to myself, like when I feel that I've had too much of the city life and I've been back to back with clients and, interacting with so many different energies, like 8-9 clients a day. And then I get called about some injured animals and this is a lot. So I go down to the beach and I ground. I do grounding. So I just bury my feet in the sand, just reconnect with earth. Like, we're lucky to have the beach here. If you don't have the beach, go try to find a forest or like some kind of a natural reserve that you can go and just be one again, because this is not what we're supposed to be in.
Absolutely. How do you reset, Super Swede?
That's how I do. I take time for myself. I reset, like I told you, by going down to Kenya, by helping out. I reset by going to my friend's farm, a rescue farm out in Ras Al Khaimah with just animals, and we just sit there amongst the animals, like, and just feed off their energy. I reset by being at home alone with my cats. I have something called Isolation Fridays, so where I'm just on my own, because I deal with so many different energies that I need to just take moments away and just be with myself and the energies that I feed off. And I don't know if it's a vegan thing, because I take their energy.
Well, no, I think
unapologetically.
I think it's a humanitarian thing. I think we mentioned that in the beginning, and I think the fundamentals of what you just said, and a lot of people will nod their head and say, yeah, that's what I want to do, or that's what I should be doing, or that's what I do even.
Yeah, and also everyone has different ways of doing it. So for some people it could be reading a book, but take time out for something that you enjoy doing is so important, because life is passing us by like that.
Yes.
And if you're just working and you're living for everyone else, your family, your wife, your this and that, like you're going to sit when you're 60 and be like, whoa, what happened to my life?
Yes.
So take time out for you. Do what makes you happy.
Absolutely. I'm going to pick your brain on something as soon as we get back, because I want us, everyone here at the Halftime Show, to follow the links for those people in Kenya that you mentioned earlier. I want them to follow you. There happens to be this person who has their own vegan company.
A vegan meal plan company.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I heard it's awesome.
Me too, you know. All right. So we're going to be talking about that after this. It's very fitting. The next song is called Be Kind by Marshmello and Halsey. Enjoy it. We'll be right back. Peace.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Yes, we are back. And you know, I said to you before, guys, this show's going to go flying. And that's what we're doing now. Zara's in the building. Super Sweet is here. Super Sweet, great show so far. Lulu, we have her to thank for that. She kind of brought us together and did the thing. So yeah, thank you very much, Lulu. And Super Sweet, there's a couple of things. One thing, to be able to acquire the kind of knowledge that you have on veganism, on the philosophy, on what it stands for, you have to have a lot of knowledge. You actually have your own company. Tell me more about it.
It's called the Vegains Co, which is a vegan meal plan where you get 3 meals a day, 2 snacks a day, 5 days a week. Fully vegan, fully nutritious. You get your calorie count. You get to choose. So you can obviously pick a bit higher calories or lower calories depending on your lifestyle. And yeah, it's just really good tasting food. And what my pride is with that, what's happened since we launched in November, we've done really well. But we have so many non-vegans on there, and that's what I wanted to achieve. Because obviously vegans, they know good vegan food. I know they're going to come on my plan. Yeah. Right? Because but non-vegans that are not planning to go vegan either. Like I have a few of my clients that are non-vegans, and I'm like, I don't think I could go vegan. And then they've been on my plan now for the last 2 months, and they're still not like connecting and wanting to go vegan themselves, but they are fully happy to be on my fully vegan meal plan. Right. So that to me is a success.
How do you educate them throughout the plan? Firstly, to come onto the plan, that's a trust process as well.
Absolutely.
And then secondly, to maintain it and sustain that with them. How do you get that connection with them normally?
No, but I love getting constructive feedback from people in every aspect, and that goes back to calling yourself out. If you don't get constructive feedback from people, how do you know where you're going right or wrong? Yes. So I always talk to clients and people that are on the meal plan and seeing how they're doing, what they're lacking, are they feeling that they're missing something? Is there something so then just building upon that in all areas. So educating them is obviously, I educate my clients all the time, and I sneak in little things, little gems of information. But it's just planting that seed. I don't tell them go vegan because I know how hard it can be, but planting that seed, making them go to do the research themselves, and then come back and say, oh my God, Zara, I looked into that thing you said about milk, and that's gross, I never knew that. And then they start going, okay, and they're so proud. They send me pictures like, I bought this plant-based milk today, and I'm like, hey, that's amazing. So it's like the little steps, and not intimidating them into like fully, but educating.
I think that's the USP right there, not intimidating them, educating them. And being able to also, like you said earlier, that sense of accountability, to be able to get called out for the product, for the beliefs, for the philosophy, is what helps those people come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they start looking into it, and obviously they're following me on Instagram, and I post little bits and pieces here and there about things, and they're like, oh wow, that really opened my mind, like just like you said about that video. So it's just creating that connection for them, whether it's to their health or to animals or to the environment.
No, absolutely. There's also something else you spoke earlier which kind of touched my heart a little bit, and that was regarding the orphanage in Kenya, regarding all the incredible stuff you do with them. How can we locate the links to that? How can we support that? How can we help those people?
So currently they can't receive any volunteers, unfortunately, so that will be later on, but I do advise anyone to go there and spend time with them. It's absolutely amazing. For now now we can donate money to their website, and they use that for nappies and milk and everything that they can't get hold of.
Yeah.
They're in a little they're just outside of Nairobi in somewhere called Roysambu. So it's right next to like the slum areas and everything. So they don't have access to much. So anything will help. You know, even if you send toys, like someone was going down there, like bring toys that connect them to the main people there, and they can meet and take them. So
very
amazing.
Cool, super sweet. That is full time on the Halftime Show. Where can we follow you as well?
Super Sweet _ on Instagram would be the best platform to follow me.
Yeah, and we will be posting everything online on our social media at Omar Al-Duri, at Pulse 95 Radio, and at Super Sweet. Thank you very much, Super Sweet, for gracing us on the show. And there you have it, folks. That is full time on the Halftime Show. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I know the behind the scenes was just as good as what we did on radio, and we'll be back every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, 3 to 4 on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of The Halftime Show, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.